All right, George, let's talk about Garcia Thurman. How'd you see it?
How I expected it. I expected him to maybe win I expected Thurman to win a late decision. I thought it was a unanimous decision or late stoppage, but he did exactly what I expected.
You didn't see a close fight? I saw a close fight.
Like I said,
You know what? Let me tell you something. It was a really strange fight because I was seeing it one way, and I was talking to some people during the fight, and they were seeing it another way. It was a really strange fight.
Because most people like the aggressor, the big puncher. So I think that's you got to look at it as your preference and style, your preference and view. Like I said, we all look at the same thing, but we all see it differently. Some people like the boxer, somebody like the big puncher, the aggressor, the one that comes forward. So it varies. You got to understand that everybody has their own opinion and their own views in boxing. I saw it more of a wider margin than most people may say. Of course, Danny Garcia didn't do. I think Danny was extremely strong. It seemed like he was maybe the bigger puncher. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but it varied. What I saw, he seems physically stronger. I think Thurman had to be a little bit more strategic and a little bit more mobile to basically stay in control because Danny Garcia stays stationary and always relies on the left hook.
Right. So I think Thurman, Thurman, he's shown a little bit of boxing expertise, maybe you could say.
Yeah, better
the last two fights because, everyone has known Keith Thurman as being this big puncher.
See, that's the problem with the public. When they see a certain style, a certain fighter, they expect them to just knock out everybody and obliterate everybody. And it can't happen all the time. Of course, we all, as the spectators, we want to see the knockout. We want to see the dramatic drama in boxing. But you can't really just expect a fighter really to just knock everybody out when other fighters bring different tools and different adversities to the table.
That's what Thurman was saying in his post fight. He's saying that sometimes people they want to see those big. They go to fights and expect certain things from certain fights. This fight, a lot of people were expecting fireworks, two big punchers, and Thurman just, I think, analyzed the situation and he strategized it well, and he was very technical.
You see, and he came out. Okay, he came out the aggressor straight off the bat. He came out trying to challenge Garcia. He actually stunned Garcia a few times. I'm not saying really hurt him, but stunned him a few times. So he really was trying to initiate the momentum in the fight. And then he saw Garcia was basically was game to trade off. And then Thurman started really boxing, started really analyzing what was the better attacks for him. He was still he took a lot of risk in times during the fight. Maybe in the last couple rounds, he was very cautious and very selective.
He did say, Thurman did say that he was a little bit surprised by Garcia's power and ring presence. And he said that he was kind of shocked that he found the distance, and so he was a little bit more strategic in his fight.
And that's the reason why, the reason I gave Thurman the advantage is because you could see it in the Collazo fight, you could see it in the Carras fight, you could see it in the Chavez fight. That he adjusted to certain. He started really adjusting. He didn't only come one way, even though he stopped all those three fighters. So you got to realize that he adjusted. He started using his abilities and his tools to his advantage. You just can't see a fighter just go out blowing out his opponent. Like I go back with Garcia when he fought Peterson, controversial decision. He fought Herrera, controversial decision. I know Peterson really, in my opinion, he really beat Garcia, but he's one of those guys that really doesn't make a lot of noise. He wins fights to a certain extent. He's not really spectacular. And people like to see the spectacular fighter really take the initiative and take the advantage.
Do you think that hurts Thurman's stock for the next few fights? Because he wasn't one-time Thurman. You know, he was more of a boxing.
You know, see, like I always tell people this: if you're trying to, you're always gonna be criticized in what you do in that ring. It's like everybody criticized Floyd Mayweather throughout his career, picking and choosing, Now people want him back. Why? Why they want him back?
Because he was the best at what he did, man.
Yeah, but the thing is, Thurman is doing what he does the best. So basically, do whatever it takes to win. And you know, sometimes we all want to win. As fighters, you want to win spectacular. You want to win by knockout. But at the same time, it doesn't happen all the time. So you gotta know what you're putting in there. You have to have a game plan, like any other sport. You have to have a game plan to beat your opponents.
Victor the Barber has a question for you. He says, does George think it was a split decision? It looked more like a unanimous decision.
I think it was more of a unanimous decision. But you got to realize politics, the bets, everything, they have a reason. Everything has a reason why it happened.
So what's next for Garcia? You know, his dad had a lot of things to say after the fight.
I heard that Garcia said Angel Garcia said that he wants his son to retire, that his son, that you don't win by running. Like I said, the same old story, the same old scenario that, Garcia, was engaged and he was the aggressor. Yes, but you win by effective aggressiveness. You don't win by just waiting and trying to land a big old Hail Mary and you're not going to land it. He had success with certain fighters, but he wasn't going to pull it out with Thurman, a young, strong, hungry fighter that basically was trying to go out there to prove his point.
So, what's next for Garcia? Should he switch trainers? Should he retire? Should he cherry pick some more?
That's always going to be a dilemma that people are going to go with. It's politics, man. Right now, these stages, right now, Garcia to go up, and he still has a chance. He's still young enough to do, he's only, 27, 28 years old, 27? So he still has something to go for, He still has the world coming in his hands. He's still a big name. And there's a lot of challenges going up there. They have the Bertles, they got the Bertles, the Spence, the Porters, the Brooks. So there's a lot of names out there they could probably miss and match. I see that Oscar's asking me what are my thoughts about Canelo and Chavez. Does the think that Chavez will give Canelo problems? Going back to that answer, Canelo and Chavez, I don't know. It's just up to Canelo really Chavez to really, if he's under the guidance of Nacho Bernstein, maybe very precise in listening to Nacho and his training, because the only problem with Chavez is don't be Chavez. He could give Canelo a lot of problems, but at the same time, I just don't see it because too many fights that Chavez has had, and he hasn't been really as explosive as before. But not to change the subject, but now going back to the. All
right, so I want to talk about another fight that went down this weekend in London, across the pond.
Oh, Haye and Bellew.
That was a crazy fight, man.
Bellew had a lot of negative things to say about.
There was a big. They both hyped it up.
It was heated up for months ago, and they were going at it. It
was really hyped up between the two guys.
Exactly.
They went at it.
So
there's a couple injuries actually that happened.
Yeah, Hayes had that.
He blew out his
Achilles tendon, and
I don't know how he.
And Bellew actually hurt his right hand in the fight.
Broke his hand, right?
Oh, broke his hand. Ooh.
Broke his right hand, or I'm not sure which hand it was, but he came out.
Was it the right hand? I heard it was something with the right hand.
That's the right hand. He said it looked like a purple
pillow. Yeah.
Wow. But
he's even talking about retirement now.
But see, who Bellew?
Yeah, Bellew was talking about retirement.
See, I don't know.
First, let's talk about the fight.
It was explosive. It was very exciting to see those two guys fighting. Hayes, he's been out of the game for 3 years. I heard he had financial problems.
And Bellew, it was his first time fighting a heavyweight.
Yeah, he was really cruiserweight. Bellew, he had a couple fights with. He fought Kovalev. He got stopped. He had a couple fights, but I think that was his biggest.
He fought Apollo Creed's son.
And that was in the movie. That's not real life.
Pretty Ricky.
Pretty Ricky.
Yeah.
But going back to him, I don't know, man. It's just You know, David Hayes for me has never, you know, he's had his successes, you know, but I don't consider him, he's a good fighter, not a great champion, because when he really needed to engage, he wasn't really for it. He was very hesitant. So I can't really give him too much credit about what he succeeded. You know, at his time, I've noticed that he's always worried about bluffing his way to his opponents and talking his way into a fight. You know, he avoided Shannon Briggs, who I think would have been an interesting fight. Two guys that are a little older, you know, past their prime in my opinions, and that could have been an interesting fight. But yet again, you know, Hayes has always been a front runner in my book. You know, no disrespect, but that's what I've seen. I believe, you know, if he thinks about retirement, it's something that we don't know, that we can't really explain.
He said that he woke up feeling like he was an 85-year-old man.
Oh, but that goes with all fighters.
His
you know,
body, he's like, he can't. He said that he can't feel.
You gotta realize how big he was. He went up to heavyweight. Was it that he fought that heavyweight?
Yeah,
he was a big guy. You know, when you're not really getting in tip-top shape to fight, of course you're gonna feel a certain way.
He looked punched out at like the later rounds.
Yeah, because the extra weight. When you got extra weight, it affects you. If it's bigger muscle or heavier without being proper weight, add-on weight, you're gonna carry it in a bad way. But
do you give Bellew a lot of credit for the TKO, even though Hayes was hurt?
I'm not really too caught up what he did. You know, I think it was a good. He's built up a name in the cruiserweight division that has done a lot of noise, especially in England. So in the cruiserweight division, I think he's one of the top names. But you know, there's a lot of other fighters that are probably not exposed as much as him right now because he holds the WBC title. So that gives him a little bit more of an edge. So because they have been promoting him, especially throughout the networks and everything. So, you know, you got to give him his respect. You know, he's a world champion for a reason. And he went up to fight David Hayes and took up the challenge. And he came out with a vengeance. He really came out speaking what he wanted to do to David Hayes. Regardless of the Achilles heel and all that, it happens, man. All fighters go through injuries. You know, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, but Hayes showed a lot of heart going.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did that.
Yeah.
So,
but also, Malignaggi fought in the other.
Yeah, I was about to.
Hey, man.
I wanted to talk about that. He was in the undercard. I didn't know that he was going to be on the undercard. He got stopped by a big body shot right to the liver.
Yeah. So I believe.
He said he couldn't breathe for 15 seconds.
So yeah, because those body shots would take a big effect.
And he said that he's thinking about retirement as well.
He should retire. You know, he does a good job with the HBO, Showtime and the whole network. He's very well spoken, you know, outspoken as well, you know. So I think you should hang him up. You know, he has a good career in commentating. I think he's one of the more respectful guys I give credit because he knows the game. He's become a world champion.
I was about to ask you, what do you think of Paulie's? Where does he lie in history of boxing? And there's a comment that says, "Pillow fist Paulie."
You know something? He became a world champion. Is he a great champion? Have he ever beaten the guys in their elite? No, he has not. But at the same time, you gotta give him the respect that he really succeeded as much as he did. Even though he was a light-fisted fighter.
He had a great jab though.
One of the best jabs, you know. I think he had more. He could probably done a little bit more, but at the same time, you know, you don't know what goes through people's lives, and he did the best he can. You know, he been in some wars, he's taken some beatings, and came back and became a multi-world champion. So all hats off to you, Paulie. You can't take nothing away from him.
I think in the history, he's gonna be like one of those cult fighters that, you know, lovers of the sport are really gonna remember.
Yeah.
Because of his great jab, his outgoing personality, and like you said, outside of boxing,
maybe he may be forgotten as the world champion. Like, remember Sean O'Grady? I don't know if people know Sean O'Grady. Sean O'Grady was a former lightweight champion, and people don't really remember him as the world champion.
I don't know him,
so you know. See, that's when
School me a little
a
bit.
little back. A lightweight champion was never a great fighter, like per se, but he was a world champion. So I think Paulie has accomplished more than Sean O'Grady. I might be wrong, but he'll be remembered. He'll be one of a good broadcaster for any network. You know, he's outspoken, well presentable. You know,
And he's very good boxing
he knows
analysis.
the game. He knows the game.
Very
He knows
good
the
boxing
game.
analysis.
So that's one thing I do give Paulie a lot of respect for. You know, so take care. So that's one thing. What's up, Kawan? How's it going?
Any questions on
A couple
IG?
people are saying hello. Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, and there's a couple fights also. Bellew versus Porter.
Oh yeah, that was announced. What do you think about that?
Brooke versus Spence. Those are,
Let's talk about Porter and Bellew. What do you think about that?
you know something. I'm gonna have to go with Porter.
Porter, the
He's
little,
not. He's the tank. He comes
little Mike
forward.
Tyson.
He kind of reminds me of Shea Mosley to a degree, but a rugged, more rugged, tough Shea Mosley, a bigger version of Shea Mosley. But I like Porter. I would like the way he is as a fighter. You know, not the most skilled fighter, but at the same time, he's willing. He gave Thurman a tough fight. So one thing
Yeah,
about
that was a
he gave Thurman a tough fight, and he gave Brooks a tough fight. So that's a big accomplishment for him. You know, even though Brooke took the title away from him, but you know he went out to England to fight him and took and Brooke beat him with the title.
I just had a comment. Peterson versus Cotto. Is that in the making?
Peterson versus
Cotto?
Cotto. Lamont Peterson.
Yeah.
You know something? That's an interesting fight, but what way? Because Lamont Peterson, I think he's one of the most avoided fighters out there. You know, because he's not very explosive. He's not very exciting to watch. Not very explosive, but he does enough. He actually wins fights very spontaneously, not in the most dramatic way, but he wins. Cotto, I just think that's a tough fight to call. I'm gonna have to go with Peterson, but at the same time, Cotto, you can't, like I always say about Cotto, you can't underestimate the guy. He has something in his game, but he's always on the A side, so he might try to pull some advantages to his way to basically get the fight.
All right. What about Spence versus Brooks? Special K
Special K. Oh man.
versus a rising
Spence
star.
is really, you know, he's a good talent. I think he's a good technician. I think he's more defined as a technician, as a boxer. You know, he knocked out what's his name? The one that beat Porobnikov. He beat Chris Algieri, very, very spectacular, and basically was no challenge. But at the same time, really, Chris Algieri was his claim to fame was beating Porobnikov, and then he fought Pacquiao and he lost. But you know, so Algieri was one of those guys that didn't rise to the occasion. So
They didn't let him out of his cage.
yeah. So
Soon enough.
but at the same time, I'm gonna have to go a little bit towards Spence.
Winner of
But-
that fight, they're saying, versus Thurman.
Yeah, but you know, Thurman right now is the guy. Right now, Thurman's the guy because you know Brooke lost to Triple G, regardless of the weight. You know, regardless of the whole scenario that he went up to win, lost, and came down. You know, Brooke made a good career move, I think, but it wasn't really that good because he lost. Number one. Number two is that they're having high hopes on Spence. They think Spence is the real legit. He's really legit. He has great boxing. He has credibility. You know, he's very dominant in his fights, but he needs to be tested. And I think this could be with Brooke could be a good test. But either of those guys, the Bertles, the Porters, the Brooks, the Thurmans, those are gonna be tough fights for any of those guys who face each other because those are gonna be very fights that are gonna be defining. They're gonna define their career. In that trilogy right there. I'm not gonna call it a trilogy in that bunch of fighters.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be something that people are gonna look at. And I think they should add Lamont Peterson in the mix as well. And maybe the other one that I think people don't really mention is Eddie Lara. I think that guy is the most avoided fighter of all of them. Eddie Lara from Cuba. The American Dream. I think he's the real deal at 147, 154. There's nobody like Lara. Like I say about
What do you want to see Lara fight?
any of those guys. And trust me, Lara will
He beats Thurman?
he could give Thurman a lot of problems. I think he's remember, big, tall left-handed will give left-hander knows how to box and knows he could be very, very successful with any other guy. I think the most interesting fight I would like to see him against Brooke or Spence. But Lada's been calling everybody out, and nobody really wants to fight him. He's been calling Triple G out. He called out, even though he fought Canelo and he lost to Canelo, I think he beat Canelo. People may disagree with me, but at the same time, I think Lada is one of the most avoided fighters out there.
All right, man. I want to open it up for questions. If anyone got any questions, or you got any other comments, George?
I don't know, man. I say people just saying what's up. I don't see anything. I only got one viewer, man. What's up with them? People don't like me anymore. Shit, it's too late. But actually, we're missing one. Lemieux versus Stevens.
Oh, that's this weekend.
Yeah, that's
I can't
this
believe I
weekend.
forgot
So
about
that's
that.
gonna be another.
Lemieux Stevens. How's that?
Two punchers, two guys that have questionable chins. Hey, you gotta speak logic, man. You gotta speak the truth.
Questionable chins, questionable boxing IQs.
Questionable hearts. I think Lemieux has a bigger heart, and Lemieux is not Lemieux. Stevens is a little questionable, but hey, he's always came out improving himself over and over again. So I don't know, man. It could be a very exciting fight. It's gonna be
Is this another crossroads?
It's another crossroad fight. Somebody's getting knocked out.
You calling it?
Somebody's getting knocked out. I can't say who it is. The first person that gets hurt is the first person that gets knocked out. Because the thing is, Lemieux put out I'm not saying he put out a better fight against Triple G, but he was still taking more of a beating than Stevens. Stevens got laid out with one solid shot, and that was it. So
he didn't want none after that.
In that scenario, I'm gonna have to go with Lemieux. Slightly big.
I'm hoping for a knockout.
Maybe I give it like a
Boxing needs a
55-45%.
Boxing hasn't had a good knockout in a couple weeks ever since Mikey
Garcia, yeah.
Ever since I had Mikey Garcia knockout
It's
couple
gonna
weeks
be
ago.
a very interesting fight. So we just gotta wait and see.
All right, man. Any other comments?
There was actually news today that Tyson Fury came back.
Oh yeah. I did actually read something about that. Yeah.
He's coming back in May 13th. What do you think about that news?
Oh, I don't know, man. Tyson Fury, man. You know what we can expect from him. He's all over the place. So, what can you expect? Who's next for him? The top. I know right now. I
know he wanted Wilder.
Anthony Joshua is fighting Klitschko. Wilder just beat Washington. And now, right now, I hear that Thurman is the mandatory challenger for Wilder. That's what we're talking about. So I don't know if the system can be broken as well.
Hey, man, is it true that Wilder jumped somebody this weekend?
He had a Dominic Brazil. He had a little altercation with the Dominic Brazil and his family. Somebody, I think I heard that his Dominic Brazil's trainer Manny Robles got punched. See, that's too much chaos. But like I said, that's another way to kind of like rise the expectation of the fight. Because realistically, Wilder before he really fights a solid fighter, a solid opponent, they're gonna make a big old commotion, a big old chaos behind the fight. It's like
Trying to build it up.
One way or another. Is being confrontational with the opponent before fights. If you really look up the history of boxing, you see guys like I don't know if you guys remember guys like Larry Donald versus Riddick Bowe, and Riddick Bowe started sucker punching Larry Donald in the press conference. That's one. Larry Holmes jumping off a car and attacking. I forgot who the fighter. Jeez, I have a tip of my tongue, but I can't recall. So there's controversy always builds up the fight, especially in today's age and social media and everything is always people got a phone away to filming anything, posting it out dramatic. Hey, anything is possible.
Let me ask you, George, in your experience in the ring, because I'm really impressed with what Haye was able to do in that fight with his Achilles injury. Have you ever been hurt in a boxing fight?
Unfortunately, I never did. I actually fought with a cold or a little cold in the
little
fight.
flu?
Yeah, because the weight. I think because sometimes when you lose weight, your immune system's a little weak. And hurt. I think I got hurt in 2 fights. One fight very severe that my knees buckled, but severely like how they've been hurt, like Achilles tendon, rotator cuff, or gash or cut.
Broken hand.
Broken hands. No, I've never.
What about, have you worked any corner where something like that has happened?
No. Actually, I had a fighter that hurt his right hand in the fight in training, and then we fought, and he couldn't let his hand go. So
as a trainer, what do you do in those type of situations?
that's the reason you gotta learn how to adjust. Adjustment's a big major thing and that's what people don't appreciate, because people want to see always a brawl. You know, 2 things you gotta learn. You gotta learn some defense. You gotta learn some movement, trying to avoid certain situations. Or, I always believe in boxing. At least if you have that will, going toe to toe with the opponent, it's great and dandy. But realistically, I don't think that benefits you as a person, as an individual, as a fighter, because the longevity gets torn away. That's the reason a lot of fighters that have a lot of wars, their careers are ending up cutting short because of too much physical abuse, physical beatings.
David Hayes was adjusting in that fight, and what he was trying to do was just play defense, trying to sucker Bellew into punching himself out, and he did punch himself out.
Yeah, but but the thing is,
he just couldn't stand on his feet anymore.
And then getting hit with 10-ounce gloves. Those ways you wear 10-ounce gloves. That's a lot of punishment for big guys like that. So it's a little hard to do that. The rope-a-dope, how Ali used to call it in the.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was letting. He was letting him jab him.
Nowadays they stop the fights, so you can't really pull out the rope-a-dopes like Rocky Marciano used to be ending up, his nose was split open in one fight, and they still let it go. Nowadays, they ain't gonna let it go. They see that you're tired, they see that you're not punching, they're gonna stop the fight regardless. So, he tried, but at the end of it all, he wasn't successful.
All right, man. Well, I want to congratulate you on Chewy being number 1 in the U.S. in amateur boxing at 176.
Yeah,
that's
good.
awesome.
Thank you.
Big applause to Flash Boxing and to George and to Juan.
Yeah, it's a team effort. Even though me and Chewy were the two people, me and him were ending up going to Kansas City, Missouri.
But it's a team effort.
It was a team effort. I had, thanks to Juan Quintero, and he's always been there since I first started working with amateurs, and thank you to Dion as well, cruiserweight contender that I'm training right now, and is a good friend of mine for many years, 14 years I think, and he helped me.
Stop with the pen.
Oh,
nervous. We have a question. Oscar Valdez. What are your thoughts on Oscar Valdez?
Oscar Valdez, what's the question?
What are your thoughts on him?
Oscar Valdez?
Yeah.
He's good. I think he's a good fighter. Right now, it's just they're rising. He's done enough. He's a world champion, isn't he? Right now, at what title does he hold? I forget. The WBO.
I think WBO.
The WBO maybe. He's a good. He's a good fighter. Accomplished a lot throughout his career, but those are fighters. He needs to get certain fighters that really crossroads fight, kind of like a Thurman Garcia fight. That he needs to fight somebody that is distinguished to really, really raise the bar for him. He's a good fighter. Take nothing away from him, but I think there's more to be proven for him. And I think he's really on the hunger strike, really trying to prove his point in his weight division, and I think he could do a lot.
Awesome. All right, man. So
I get a Jose Lasagna. Congrats, sir. Thank you. And Frenzy, Canelo Chavez, man. I already talked about him, man. So I think Canelo got the edge, but I think if Chavez listens to his trainer.
We'll talk about Chavez, Canelo, the closer we get to.
The fight.
Because man, we could be here for hours.
Keep tuned.
But it's late, and I want to go to sleep.
We all want to go to sleep. It's already 9:30, man. I gotta close this gym, man.
All right, George. That's it for this week.
Right.
Where can everyone find you?
At Jorge Kid Flash Diaz, my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook. You can follow me you can look me up at Jorge Diaz, and you can write Reseda, Jorge Diaz Reseda, so you can see me pop up. If you don't think that's me, send me a message. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll start taking notes and
I have a question.
yes.
When can I beat you up again?
When you can beat me up again? Never. That's the problem. Never. You know, I know I don't work out like I should, but hey. If I have to go in there with a
One
sledgehammer.
time we're gonna have to go. We're gonna
Hey,
put
one
ourselves
day
live.
we gotta put it live.
We're gonna put it live one of these days, and we're gonna have
I'm
people
gonna
judge.
teach this boy a lesson.
We're gonna have judges.
Oh, we got judges. Oh, yeah. I
We're gonna
love
have
it.
judges.
See, we're gonna have judges, and trust me, I'm gonna pay them off.
All right, George. We'll see you next
All right,
week, man.
take care.
Thank you.
For sure.